inner planets are small and dense and composed of mostly rock, while the outer planets are gas planets. They also have few or no moons and no rings circling them. They are often called the terrestrial planets. Mercury is 4,879 kilometers in diameter. Its average distance away from the Sun is 58 million kilometers. It takes Mercury 59 Earth days to rotate and 24 years to revolve around the Sun. It is the closest planet to the Sun and contains no moons. It is comprised of mostly iron and nickel. It is one of the densest planets and has a very thin atmosphere. At night, it gets as cold as negative 170 degrees Celsius, and during the day, it burns up to 430 degrees Celsius.
Day for the Earth to rotate around the Sun. It has three main layers: a crust, a solid and rocky surface, the mantle, which is hot molten rock, and a core, which is composed of iron and liquid. Earth is unique in our solar system in having liquid water at its surface. 70% of Earth's surface is covered in water. Earth is the only planet that has oxygen in its atmosphere. The oxygen you need to live makes up about 20% of Earth's atmosphere. Water is important in shaping Earth's surface, wearing it down, and changing its appearance over time. Earth has a sustainable temperature range for water to exist as a liquid, gas, or solid. The atmosphere is also made up of nitrogen, argon, carbon dioxide, and water vapor.
Mars is 6,794 kilometers in diameter. Its average distance away from the Sun is 228 million kilometers. It takes Mars 1 3/10 Earth days to rotate and 1 9/10 of an Earth year to revolve around the Sun. It is known as the red planet due to the rest of iron-rich materials that form the planet's surface. Since Mars has a thin atmosphere, it led astronomers to believe that water that once existed on the planet might have leaked into space. The planet has 2 moons, and its network of canals and canyons led many to believe there is life on Mars. Mars has a tilted axis and has similar seasons to the Earth. Some regions have giant volcanoes but are no longer active. Olympus Mons on Mars is the largest volcano in the solar system. It is 3 times as tall as Mount Everest and covers a region as large as Missouri.
All of the outer planets are gas giants. These 4 planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Gas giants are massive planets that have a thick atmosphere of hydrogen and helium. Because these 4 planets, which are gas giants, are so large, they exert a large gravitational force. Just like the Sun, these gas giants have a hydrogen and helium atmosphere. Gravity keeps the planet's gases from escaping, so they have thick atmospheres just like Jupiter. Although these planets are called gas giants, much of their atmospheres are made of liquid hydrogen and helium. The outer layers of the gas giants are extremely cold because of their great distance from the Sun. The temperatures increase greatly within the planets. Gas giants have many moons. In addition, each of these giants is surrounded by a set of rings. A ring is a thin disk of small particles of ice and rock, similar to a CD or DVD. The outer planets are much farther apart than the inner planets. But Pluto is now considered a dwarf planet. So that makes the 4 gas giants Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. It has a diameter of 143,000 kilometers. Its period of rotation is 0.41 Earth days, and its average distance from the Sun is 779 million kilometers. Its period of revolution is 12 Earth days, and it has 63 plus months. Jupiter's atmosphere. Jupiter is composed of mainly hydrogen and helium. Because of its massive size and large atmosphere, it exerts a large gravitational force. The purpose of this force is to keep the gases from escaping the planet's thick atmosphere. A unique and interesting feature of Jupiter is its Great Red Dot. The Great Red Dot is a large storm with winds that blow hundreds of kilometers per hour. Jupiter's structure. It has a large, dense core of rock and iron at the center, then a thick, large mantle of liquid hydrogen and helium. Jupiter has 4 large moons. One of its moons is Io. Io is an unusual color because of its sulfur and very large active volcanoes. Europa has an icy surface, and Callisto also has an icy surface that is full of craters. Also, Jupiter has largest moon in the solar system, and this moon is larger than Mercury. Saturn is the second largest planet in the solar system. It has a diameter of 120,500 kilometers. Its period of rotation is 0.45 Earth days. Its average distance from the Sun is 1,434,000,000,000 kilometers. Its period of revolution is 29 years, and it has 56 plus moons. Saturn has a thick atmosphere made of hydrogen and helium that has many storms like Jupiter. It has rings which are made of chunks of ice and rock. These rings are divided into many thinner rings and are broad and thin like a DVD or CD. The largest moon of Saturn is Titan, and Titan has a very thick atmosphere.
Uranus has a diameter of 51,120 kilometers. The period of rotation is 0.72 Earth days. The average distance from the Sun is 2,873,000,000 kilometers. The period of revolution is 84 Earth years, and the number of moons is 27. Uranus is much colder and has a blue-green color because of the methane in its atmosphere. It is surrounded by a group of thin, flat rings and was discovered in 1781. 200 years after, the Voyager 2 was sent to take pictures and discovered 10 moons that were never seen before. The axis of rotation is tilted at an angle of about 90 degrees from the vertical, and viewed from the Earth, it rotates from top to bottom. The 5 largest moons have icy, cratered surfaces created by rocks that hit them. The moons also have lava flows, and material erupts from inside the moons. Neptune has a diameter of 143,000 kilometers and a period of rotation of 0.67 Earth days. The average distance from the Sun is 4,495,000,000 kilometers. The period of revolution is 164 Earth years. Neptune has 13 moons. The atmosphere contains visible clouds and is cold and blue. Neptune is slowly shrinking and causing the interior to heat up, causing storms. An 1846 discovery predicted that some new planet was in the path of Uranus, and that planet was Neptune. There was a great dark spot that was probably a big storm, but 5 years later it was gone. Neptune has 13 moons, the largest moon being Triton, that has a thin atmosphere.
Pluto has a diameter of 2,390 kilometers. Its period of rotation is 6.4 Earth days. Its average distance from the Sun is 5,870,000,000 kilometers. Its period of revolution is 248 Earth years.
The number of moons that Pluto has is 3. It has a solid surface, and it is so far from the Sun that it revolves around the Sun every 248 years. Since astronomers found many other planets like Pluto, they decided to create a new class of planets called dwarf planets.
Comets are loose collections of ice, dust, and small rocky particles whose orbits are usually very long, narrow ellipses. When comets get close to the sun, the energy of sunlight turns the ice into gas, releasing gas and dust. These clouds of gas and dust form a fuzzy outer layer called the coma. The nucleus is the solid inner core of the comet. The brightest part of the comet's head, is made up of the nucleus and coma. The gas and dust from the sun's energy also stream outward, forming 2 tails, a gas and dust tail. They both point away from the sun, and the tails can be more than 100 million kilometers long and stretch across most of the sky. The material is stretched so thin that the comet's tail has little mass. Most comets are found in either the Kuiper belt or Oort cloud. The Kuiper belt is a donut-shaped region that extends from beyond Neptune's orbit to about 100 times Earth's distance from the sun. The Oort cloud is a spherical region of comets that surrounds the solar system out to more than 1,000 times the distance between Pluto and the sun.
Meteoroids, a chunk of rock or dust in space, comes from comets and asteroids. Meteoroids. When a meteoroid enters the Earth's atmosphere, friction with the air creates heat and produces a streak of light in the sky. Meteorites. Meteoroids pass through the atmosphere and hit the Earth's surface. Meteor showers happen several times a year. On average, a meteor strikes overhead every 10 minutes. Some asteroids form when asteroids collide in space. Others form when a comet breaks up and creates a cloud of dust that continues to move through Earth's solar system. When Earth passes one of these dust clouds, bits of dust enter the Earth's atmosphere. If the meteoroid in the Earth's atmosphere is large enough, it may not burn up completely. The craters on the moon were formed by meteoroids.
Asteroids are rocky, airless worlds that orbit our sun, but are too small to be called planets. Most asteroids revolve around the sun between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. This is called the asteroid belt. Most asteroids are less than a kilometer in diameter. Scientists first thought that asteroids were the remains of a shattered planet. However, now they hypothesize that the asteroids are leftover pieces of the early solar system that never came together to form a planet.
Some asteroids have elliptical orbits that bring them closer to the sun than the Earth's orbit. Someday one of these asteroids could hit the Earth. One or more did hit the Earth around 65 million years ago, filling the atmosphere with dust and smoke and blocking out the sunlight around the room. Scientists hypothesize that many species of organisms, including dinosaurs, became extinct as a result.